Today, we're sharing another client story. Her name is Claire. When she first arrived, she was sitting with her hands clasped in her lap, her eyes fixed on the floor. It was as if she didn't keep her gaze fixed on the ground, everything inside her would spill out. Her tone of voice was calm, but her eyes, how can I put it? Her eyes were completely different. In that gaze, there was both a deep weariness and a rage that hadn't yet found words. The two coexisted, standing side by side in silence. How can someone be hurt so deeply by someone they love? She asked me. That day, I deliberately didn't answer, because some questions aren't meant to be answered. They need to be heard. Some questions don't actually expect an answer. They just want to feel that they exist, that they've been heard. Claire's question was exactly like that. So I listened for exactly 2.5 years. And now you listen too, because in Claire's story, there might be someone you recognize, or perhaps that person is you. Claire was a 34-year-old architect. For 12 years, she had worked in the same office with both her business partner and her former best friend. 12 years. It wasn't just a professional relationship. It meant sharing the same coffee in the mornings, leaning on each other's shoulders during tough projects, celebrating successes together, and burying disappointments together. These two people were her family. They were the people she trusted, shared everything with, and believed would stand by her in hard times. Perhaps that's why what happened cut so deep. Because when a stranger betrays you, it's painful. But when someone you trust betrays you, it's not just pain, it's the ground shifting beneath your feet. You start to question what's real. But one day, she realized that these two people had been registering the projects she'd designed over the years under their own names. Every single award-winning project in the portfolio. All of them. The work that emerged from Claire's hands, Claire's hours, Claire's mental exhaustion, Claire's sleepless nights, had been stamped with someone else's signature. Not just one or two projects, dozens of projects spanning years, as if Claire had never existed, as if those lines had drawn themselves. When she came to me, her teeth were clenched. "I want to get what's rightfully mine," she said. I asked, "Do you want to get what's rightfully yours, or do you want to put your pain to rest?" She fell silent. That silence actually spoke volumes, because these two things are very different. Getting what's rightfully yours is a strategic, patient, long-term journey. Putting your pain aside, however, is often a momentary, instinctive, and sometimes self-destructive reaction, and most of us confuse these two when we experience betrayal. As a psychologist, I know this very well. A mind that has been betrayed initially sees revenge as a solution. This is an extremely human reaction. It also makes evolutionary sense. When you perceive a threat, your brain drives you to act, but this drive to act doesn't always lead in the right direction. If the other person suffers too, my pain will ease, the brain thinks. It looks like an equation. It might even feel logical. But this is an illusion, because pain doesn't lessen by being transferred to someone else. It needs to be processed to ease. Look at what Claire did during that initial period. She posted defamatory messages about her former partner on social media. She sent messages to shared clients complaining about him. She even went so far as to try and fabricate false documents claiming that certain projects belonged to her. At every step, she felt justified, because in a way, she was right. But being right doesn't make every means legitimate. And what happened? Her former partner responded to this chaos with a laugh. "Claire is having psychological issues," he told everyone. Those around her heard it. Some believed it. Others weren't sure, but the doubt was enough. Claire, meanwhile, suddenly found herself in the position of both victim and suspect. She was right, but she no longer seemed credible. That's when therapy truly began. I told Claire, "What was done to you is unfair. I'm not ignoring that. But the way you're acting right now isn't protecting you. It's protecting them." She didn't want to hear that at first. She got angry with me, too. "Are you taking their side, too?" she asked me. This is a very common moment in therapy. Someone in such intense pain can hear even a neutral voice as the voice of an enemy, because at that point, for the mind, everything is either friend or foe. The gray area in between becomes invisible, and if the therapist can manage to simply be present in that moment without judging or jumping to defend, then things begin to shift. I remained patient. I didn't judge, and in the next session, she picked up where she left off. "Okay," she said, "what do I need to do?" Those two words sometimes mark the end of an internal war that lasted for years. Okay, meaning I no longer just want to burn, I want to move forward. From that point on, Claire embarked on a completely different path. First, she hired a lawyer. Quietly, strategically, she began gathering evidence. She reviewed old emails. She compiled documents where her name appeared among project drafts. She examined one by one what was said at each meeting and who signed what. She reached out to former coworkers. A few of them, burdened by a weight they'd carried in their consciences for years, agreed to testify on Claire's behalf. Because sometimes people stay silent out of fear, for fear of losing their jobs, or simply because they don't want to get involved. But when the right moment comes, conscience prevails. Claire was no longer acting out of anger, but with composure. And this change was happening not just on the outside, but on the inside too. Now, when she woke up in the morning, she didn't think, "How can I get revenge today?" but "How can I rebuild myself today?" This difference may seem small, but in reality, it's a massive difference. Because revenge pins you to the past. You keep looking at what happened, reliving it over and over. Your mind gets stuck in a loop of that moment of shock. Years pass, but you're still stuck in that first moment of shock in the office. Justice, however, carries you into the future. It says what happened is done, but what comes next will be different. It focuses not on changing the past, but on looking ahead. She filed the suit. It dragged on. It was exhausting, both financially and emotionally. Some days she wanted to give up. Some nights she couldn't sleep, not from exhaustion, but from a sense of meaninglessness. Is all this effort worth it? She asked herself over and over. But she kept going. In the end, the court ruled that the creative rights to a significant portion of the projects belonged to Claire. When she told me about that day, she didn't cry. She just said, "I feel at peace now. Not because I got my revenge, but because I finally believe in myself." That sentence summed up those 2.5 years, because the real issue was never just a legal victory. The real issue was this: Claire had to believe in herself again, and she succeeded. I'm not telling you this story merely as a dramatic tale of revenge. On the contrary, what I see in Claire's story is a conflict that many people experience but cannot put to words. Maybe you've experienced it. Maybe you're still experiencing it. Perhaps on a much smaller scale, but at its core, it's the same thing. Here is that conflict. Even when you're right, if you act with the wrong tools, you harm yourself. The energy of anger, when channeled correctly, propels you forward. It gives you strength. It lifts you up. When misdirected, however, it consumes you, both you and those around you. One day, Claire put into words the most important thing she'd learned in therapy. I didn't have to put out the fire inside me. I just had to channel it somewhere. And that's exactly what he did. Now I want to ask you, has anyone ever betrayed you or wronged you in your life? How did you react in that moment? Where did you direct your anger? Did it drive you to action, or did it drain you? Or are you still carrying something inside, unable to speak of it? I don't want you to write this in the comments right now. Just ask yourself this question. For me, is revenge or justice more meaningful? If you're struggling to answer this question, this video was made just for you. Understanding ourselves is a challenging journey. It's not easy, it's not short, and it's not a straight path. But you don't have to go through this journey alone. On this channel, I share client stories, psychological perspectives, and content that will make you think deeply. Subscribing is like opening a door. You choose to open it, we'll do the rest together.